Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Barokoshama and today we're going to be doing another Elemental Shaman guide for patch 7.1.5. In this video guide we're going to be talking about the burst and normal rotations for all three builds, that being the Ascendance, the Ice Fury, and the Lightning Rod builds. I wanted to just get down to the nitty-gritty on this stuff. I know I talked about it a little bit in the last video that I did, but I really wanted to give you guys a play-by-play on how to perform optimally and to the best of your ability when it comes to all three of these builds. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so let's talk about Ascendance. Ascendance is all about using strong and potent cooldowns that last a long time and are used to just rain fiery destruction on your enemies. In this rotation guide, we're going to be covering the opener and the normal rotation. Let's just read what the opener says so far. Obviously, 3 seconds before the pull, we're going to cast our Fire Elemental, pre-pot, and then start casting Lightning Bolt. In this situation, we cast Lightning Bolt because, and I'll tell you why. Elemental Blast is a buff that we want to have for the most of the duration of the Ascendance. It benefits our Ascendance very much. That's why we cast it again during our Ascendance. So, in order to pre-cast a spell without losing damage, we pre-cast Lightning Bolt into a Flame Shock, then using our 2 Lava Bursts in order to gain Maelstrom, as well as expel those casts and stacks of Echo of the Elements that we have for our Lava Bursts, and then finally going into our Elemental Blast with a reapplication of Flame Shock. This is before we get into our Ascendance. Once we are in our Ascendance, we are hurling balls of lava as fast and as hard as we can. During Ascendance, we are going to be using Elemental Blast once it comes off cooldown, and then continue to use Lava Burst afterwards. We are not, and I repeat, not using Earth Shock during Ascendance. It is a waste of DPS. Your Lava Bursts, when they overload, are going to be doing a lot more damage than a single Earth Shock will do. And it's a waste of GCD to cast it. But we will be using Earth Shock when we have less than 2 seconds on Ascendance left, and I'll tell you why. Lava Burst has a cast time, okay? And the way that Ascendance works with Echo of the Elements is Ascendance, when it falls off, it will not stop your cast of Lava Burst, okay? Will not stop it. The only spell that it will stop is, I believe, Lava Beam. Lava Burst has 2 stacks thanks to our great talent Echo of the Elements. When Ascendance falls off and you are still casting Lava Burst and then you cast it, a stack of Echo of the Elements will then be removed. Unless you have enough time to cast 1 Lava Burst before the Ascendance buff expires, we Earth Shock. We Earth Shock in order to spend all the Maelstrom that we built up over the course of that Ascendance and to start anew. This is also for a reason so that we do not waste Maelstrom coming out of Ascendance and then still casting Lava Burst and then getting rid of a stack of Echo of the Elements. So instead we're going to Earth Shock. I'm going to give you guys a play-by-play and show you guys exactly what that means and how it looks when we do it. Coming out of Ascendance now, we want to use our Stormkeeper because we're most likely going to have Power of the Maelstrom buff thanks to our artifact weapon here. When you cast Lava Burst, you have a chance to supercharge Fist of Ra-Den, causing your next 3 Lightning Bolts to trigger Elemental Overload an additional time. So, because we're in Ascendance and we're constantly casting Lava Burst, we're most likely going to have this buff available to us when we cast our Stormkeeper. Do not cast Stormkeeper while you're in Ascendance. Do not cast Lightning Bolts while you're in Ascendance. Wait until we come out in order to do it. I know you guys want to put this on cooldown as much as possible, but it's just really not that much benefit to doing it, and you're losing out on precious damage. So, coming out of Ascendance, we use our Earth Shock, we use our Stormkeeper, we get rid of those stacks of Power of the Maelstrom, and then we're using our stacks of Lava Bursts. Then we're going into our normal rotation and our spell priority. We're going to be keeping Elemental Blast on cooldown, keeping Flame Shock on the target, but make sure that you use your Flame Shock only when you have 20 Maelstrom to refresh it, as well as a stack of Elemental Focus. Elemental Focus can be acquired through your spells critting on the target, or a Lava Burst. Lava Bursts always crit as long as Flame Shock is on the target, so you know that you're going to get 2 stacks of Elemental Focus every time you cast a Lava Burst, but only when it hits the target, not when you cast it, of course. Our normal rotation consists then of using Earth Shock at 92 or higher Maelstrom, Lightning Bolt if we have Power of the Maelstrom active and fewer than 2 Lava Burst charges, then using Earth Shock at 86 or higher, and Lava Surge is not up. Stormkeeper on cooldown if we're able to use all 3 charges, Lava Burst, of course if we have a Lava Surge proc, and the Stormkeeper buff will be up for more than 1.5 seconds for each consecutive stack remaining. From there on, it's just really keeping Lava Burst on cooldown and filling with Lightning Bolt. So it's a pretty simple rotation, but let's get into what the burst is going to look like. So as we covered before, we're going to be using Fire Elemental into a pre-pot, recasting Lightning Bolt into a Flame Shock. What most groups do on a boss is to lust right at the beginning. This really helps with a lot of people's burst phase. So after that Flame Shock, you're going to immediately, if your group is lusting off the pull, Heroism. After that Heroism, we are going to cast 2 Lava Bursts, use our Elemental Blast, refresh the Flame Shock. We are going to have an Elemental Focus buff for this, so don't worry, as well as we're going to have enough Maelstrom for this to buff the Flame Shock to last the full duration, and then we're going into Ascendance. So let's show you guys what this looks like. Of course, I told you before, we are using Elemental Blast while in Ascendance, not Earth Shock until we come out. So, Fire Elemental, Pre-Pot, Lightning Bolt, Flame Shock, Lust, 2 Lava Bursts, Elemental Blast, Flame Shock, Ascendance, Lava Burst, Lava Burst, Lava Burst. We are now waiting until Elemental Blast comes off cooldown in order to do our next step of the burst phase. Elemental Blast is on cooldown. I had 1 stack. I had enough time available in order to cast that Lava Burst, and then I used Stormkeeper, used those 3 stacks of Power of the Maelstrom, and then my 2 stacks of Lava Burst from the Echo of the Elements. Now comes our normal rotation, obviously refreshing Flame Shock with 20 Maelstrom and a stack of Elemental Focus, using Elemental Blast on cooldown, getting rid of that Maelstrom when it comes high enough, and obviously keeping our Lava Burst on cooldown. We continue this rotation pretty much until our cooldowns come back up, that being Ascendance and either Fire Elemental. I have the Legendary Shoulder, so that's why I am using the Earthquake when it comes empowered. So the rotation's pretty simple, as you guys saw. I recommend just practicing that. And if you guys want my weak wars, I'm going to be putting them in the description down below so you can track your buffs and other stuff a lot easier. I also recommend key binding a lot of your spells. You're going to be able to muscle memory a lot of it, and it's just going to be easier for you to perfect and execute your opening sequence. On to the next one. Alright guys, so now we're going to be talking about the Ice Fury build. This build is all about utilizing small burst cooldowns efficiently and quickly while balancing your Maelstrom and not losing stacks of said cooldowns, such as your Stormkeeper buff and your Ice Fury damaging ability. This rotation is hard to get used to unless you're well versed with it. You can get lost and suffer greatly while trying to perform it while adapting to raid mechanics and movement. So we recommend definitely practicing this as much as possible. In this video, we're going to be breaking it down into segments for the opener and the normal rotation. So let's get started. In the opener, of course, we start out with the classic opener, starting with our Fire Elemental into a pre-pot. Prolonged Power, like I said before, is our best one, so you guys want to use that. Plus it's cheaper, which is nice. After the Prolonged Power, we're going to be using our Elemental Blast. Immediately starting combat, we're going to use a Lava Burst, Flame Shock. If we're lusting off the start of the fight, we're then going to lust into an Ice Fury, casting our Stormkeeper, then another Lava Burst, our second stack of Lava Burst, into our 3 Lightning Bolts. This is the portion of the opener where we're gaining as much as Maelstrom as fast as possible so that we can spend it on our Frost Shocks. Elemental Blast is now coming off cooldown, so we're going to be using that. We want to keep this on cooldown all the time. An important note is that, I'm going to put this down for a sec, when we get our 4-piece tier from Nightholds, our Elemental Focus increases damage and healing by an additional 10%, meaning that it's going to be at 20% now. This is actually pretty big, and when we get this, we're going to want to game our Elemental Focus buff with our Frost Shocks. As it says here, use those 4 Frost Shocks. We're going to be expelling all that Maelstrom that we built up from all of the Lightning Bolts and our Lava Bursts. But when we get our 4 set, we're going to want to game it, like I said, our Elemental Focus with our Frost Shocks, weaving in Lava Bursts and using our Frost Shocks when we have 20 Maelstrom in the opener, as well as a stack of Elemental Focus. It is a huge DPS increase to do so, and we recommend practicing such a rotation. So, after we've used all of our Frost Shocks, everything's on cooldown, we're then going to be going into our normal rotation. This rotation is obviously a priority of spells, such as Flame Shock being on the target at all times, and refreshing it when it's less than 9 seconds. You have 20 Maelstrom, as well as having a stack of Elemental Focus. Obviously, keeping Elemental Blast on cooldown, it is not a generator of Maelstrom, so you don't have to worry about capping Maelstrom when you're using this spell, so you can use it at high Maelstrom, use that, and then immediately following an Earth Shock. You want to keep this on cooldown as much as possible. Of course, Earth Shock comes in after that, being at 92 or higher Maelstrom. Ice Fury, when it is available, and if you're not going to cap on Maelstrom, the magic number is 76 Maelstrom. So, you gain 24 Maelstrom when you cast this. At 76, if you casted it, you would be at 100 Maelstrom. Immediately following that cast, if you casted it at 76 Maelstrom, you want to use a Frost Shock. That way, and don't worry, because you're going to have a buff from Ice Fury. Immediately casting the Ice Fury, you get the buff. So, Frost Shock immediately casting that Ice Fury if you're at a high Maelstrom or a high amount of Maelstrom. And then it will most likely overload, which means you will not cap unless you don't cast that Frost Shock. Capping Maelstrom is the worst thing that you can do as an Elemental Shaman. It is a huge waste of DPS in Maelstrom, and it is definitely not recommended. So, we want to be casting our Ice Fury, obviously when we're able to use all 4 stacks of our Frost Shock with 20 Maelstrom for each stack of Ice Fury. You can use Ice Fury at low Maelstrom. See, I'm using it at 0 right now, and I'm gaining Maelstrom quickly. It procced, you know, so I'm able to gain Maelstrom pretty quickly, of course, with Stormkeeper and Lava Bursts. So there's no need to worry about not being able to get Frost Shocks, or all 4 Frost Shocks that are buffed with Ice Fury out, because the buff lasts 15 seconds. So you have 15 seconds to get all 4 Frost Shocks out. It's a pretty long time. You don't need to worry about it too much. So, after that, of course, Lava Burst when Lava Surge comes off cooldown, and if we have 2 charges of Lava Burst available from our Echo of the Elements. We want to keep everything on cooldown. This build revolves around you keeping your spells on cooldown as efficiently as possible. Frost Shock then comes in at 7 with 20 Maelstrom or higher, and we have a stack of Ice Fury. Do not, and I repeat, never use Frost Shock unless it is buffed with Ice Fury and you have 20 Maelstrom available to use it. I know we're trying to game Frost Shock with Elemental Focus, but if the buff's gonna run out and you don't have the buff from Elemental Focus, you're not gonna be able to get it in time. Use the Frost Shock. From there, Stormkeeper, keeping that on cooldown, of course, Lava Burst, and Lightning Bolt as a filler. If we're up against 2 targets and they're close together, we want to be using Chain Lightning instead of Lightning Bolt. It's a better Maelstrom generation. We're gaining 6 or 4 more when we hit 2 targets, plus it's a little bit more damage. So, want to be doing that. Now that we've gone over the rotation, let's give you a play-by-play on how it's going to look. So as we said with the opener, we're going to be using our Fire Elemental into our Prolonged Power Potion, Elemental Blast, Lava Burst, Flame Shock, Lust, if you're lusting off the pull. Immediately following that, we're going to Ice Fury, Stormkeeper, Lava Burst again, and this is where we want to game. If we have it already, if we have a stack of Elemental Focus, which we're going to have, most likely, and you have enough Maelstrom, start using those Frost Shocks. Gaining Maelstrom is easy in the opener, as we have Stormkeeper to help us out, and 2 stacks of Lava Burst, as well as the huge amount of Maelstrom that we have from Ice Fury. After that, using the Lava Burst, we're going to use our stacks of Lightning Bolts and game our Frost Shocks. So I'll show you guys what it's going to look like. Fire Elemental, Elemental Blast, Lava Burst, Flame Shock, Lust, Ice Fury. I'm getting rid of those stacks now. There's a Lava Burst, I'm going to use it. Elemental Blast. All my stacks of Ice Fury are gone. And all my stacks of Stormkeeper are gone. Refreshing that Flame Shock. Elemental Blast on cooldown. This is where we're going into our normal rotation. Keeping Elemental Blast on cooldown. Using those Frost Shocks at 20 Maelstrom. And keeping our stuff on cooldown as efficiently as possible. So that you guys have seen how it looks, you guys can practice it, and let's move on to the next segment. Alright guys, so we are approaching our third and final build, the Lightning Rod build. The Lightning Rod build shines brightest in heavy cleave situations and Mythic Plus dungeons, but I recommend refraining from using this build when it comes to single target boss encounters. In this section of the video, we're going to be covering the rotation for both the burst situation and the normal rotation, both of which are very, very easy to pick up. The Lightning Rod opener starts off with a 3-second before the pull, Fire Elemental, and then into a pre-pot, Elemental Blast into a Flame Shock. The only thing I would change about this is actually casting Stormkeeper before that Elemental Blast, which is min-maxing your cooldowns and just putting it on cooldown earlier so that later it will come up for an opportune moment. You will have it available. After that Flame Shock, if you're going to be lusting off the pull, that is when you do it, right after the Flame Shock, and then we go into the actual burst situation. We're going to be then using both of our Lava Burst charges, hopefully trying to get that Power of the Maelstrom proc in order to help our Stormkeeper do buttloads of damage. From there, we're then going to use our 3 stacks of Lightning Bolts from our Stormkeeper buff. After this comes into our normal rotation. The normal rotation is very simple. Just like the other ones, the priority of the spells, we're going to be keeping our Flame Shock up on the target at all times and only refreshing it when it has less than 9 seconds left on the duration, as well as 20 Maelstrom and a stack of Elemental Focus available to use with it. We then want to keep our Elemental Blast CD on CD at all times and using it whenever it comes available. That is our second highest. Using Earth Shock at high Maelstrom is then our third priority, 92 or above. We do not want to be going above and beyond when it comes to Maelstrom. We do not want to be at cap. We never want to go over it. It is a waste of DPS, like I said earlier in the video, and you're just hurting yourself. So use Earth Shock at 92 or 100 Maelstrom. 92 to 100 Maelstrom is the priority. Then we want to cast our Lava Burst on with Lava Surge activates, as well as our 2 stack of Echo of the Elements. After that, we want to be using our Earth Shock at 86 or higher Maelstrom, and then using our Lava Burst on cooldown and Lightning Bolt as filler. I would switch out Lightning Bolt for Chain Lightning depending on how many adds you're going to be going up against. If you're doing 2 or more, then switch out Chain Lightning for Lightning Bolt, unless you have a Power of the Maelstrom proc, at which you want to get rid of those stacks using Lightning Bolt. Alright, now that we've talked about the rotation and the opener, let's get right into it and show you guys how it's going to look. So, the Fire Elemental pre-pot Stormkeeper into an Elemental Blast, Flame Shock, Lust, 2 Lava Bursts. We have a Stormkeeper proc, that's great, we're going to use that, and then get rid of our Maelstrom. We're then going to go into our normal rotation using Lava Burst and Elemental Blast on cooldown, refreshing Flame Shock with that 20 Maelstrom and a stack of Elemental Focus when we have it available. So the rotation is very simple. As you can see, I don't have my totems up, but I just want to show you guys what it looks like and how to really play it by like optimally. You want to get rid of those stacks of Power of the Maelstrom before you use your next lava burst in case you get another buff of it. And then of course keeping things on cooldown and yeah, just going through the normal rotation. So as you guys can see, the rotation is very simple. It's probably out of the three the most simple rotation. So that concludes the final segment of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and you want to see more Elemental Shaman content, and don't forget to hit that like button as well. It really helps me out. If you want to hit me up on my social medias, you can, and you want to watch me live on twitch.tv, which is the main broadcasting website that I use. I will be putting the links to all those in the description down below. If you want to recap on all the information that was said in this video and wanted to learn more about the Elemental Shaman, you can do so by hitting up the Storm, Earth, and Lava website, which I will also be putting a link to in the description down below. Again, thank you guys so much for watching and for all the love and support. I really appreciate it. But until next time, guys, keep calm and Maelstrom on.